triumph over all his foes takes place outside Carthage Jail in Carthage, Illinois on June 27, 1844. This painting shows the moment when the prophet leaped out the east window and fell to the ground against the well curb. Earlier in 1838, while being held unjustly in Liberty Jail, the prophet had been told by the Lord, quote, "My son, peace be unto thy soul. Thine adversity and thine afflictions shall be but a small moment. And then, if thou endure it well, God shall exalt thee on high. Thou shalt triumph over all thy foes." End quote. In this image, I tried to portray the tragedy and the triumph of this moment. The tragedy is obvious, an innocent man gunned down while under the protection of the state. The triumph is a little less obvious. In his death, Joseph had finished his work. He had done all that the Lord had asked of him, and much had been asked of him. He had had so many chances to fail, to give up, to leave the work for someone else, to become bitter and resent the persecution and trial that plagued him from his youth, but he never did. The expression set on the face of the prophet, as preserved in the death mask, shows a peaceful expression, even a slight smile. The prophet Joseph Smith died at peace with God, even in the midst of such violence. Oddly enough, the mob never came into the room. John Taylor says that. He was surprised. They kept expecting it. They kept expecting the mobbers to rush into the room with their bayonets, swords, and pistols. But the mobbers were so cowardly, they never stepped foot into the room. All they would do was to stick their guns through the door. Someone would hand them another loaded gun, and they would put it through the crack of the door, and they would fire. They were so cowardly and afraid that they never came into the room. The figure on the right in the militia uniform represents the involvement of the state government in the murder. The red highlights on the face and hands of the mob represent the blood of the prophet and his brother on the hands of the killers. The blackened hands and face were the mob's attempt at disguise, but also symbolize the spiritual uncleanness of the mob and their murderous intentions. Cowards and charlatans, when put under the pressure and threats of death and seeing your family killed and harassed and things like that, they give in, they crack. They say, "I made it up, it wasn't real, just let me live, leave me alone, let me go." Joseph had multiple opportunities, if he had wanted to escape. He had people willing to change clothes with him and pretend to be him in Carthage, and he stayed. I really learned that how he ended his life was an exclamation point to all the words he had spoken, to the sermons he had preached about living every moment of your life in a way that God would be pleased.